In this episode of Sound Advice, I'll be talking with Amelia Torode, who works with the Good Relations Group and is doing some fascinating research on doing good. What she's discovered is when you're looking at a company, you shouldn't just focus on the bottom line, but there are some other critical and valuable assets to focus on and that you should really work towards if you're building a platform. She has an interesting take also on thought leadership, which is a word that she's not completely comfortable with. Listen in and see why.
So my name's Amelia Torode. I've recently started as Director of Strategy at a group called the Good Relations Group. At the moment I'm really interested, I guess you could almost call it an obsession, with trying to reimagine the way that businesses operate in the 21st century. So I've been doing a lot of work around reputation and trying to think about the reputation of a company and how you can measure those and how you can think about the role that companies can play, the role that companies can play beyond profit. I guess the first thing to think about when we're thinking about what modern businesses is about is really starting from the foundation that I actually think that business as usual isn't going to cut it anymore. So you just have to look at what's happening in the economy, you have to think about what's happening socially, look at things like Occupy Wall Street or Occupy the city in London. Something is going fundamentally wrong. So my approach is to try and think about how businesses can behave and how they can act while still be profitable businesses, but actually making a positive difference and an impact in the communities that they work in.
Earlier, we were talking about your 3 Ps that every company should be looking at, and profitability is only one of the 3.
So it's interesting. The way that we're talking about it is as a concept called the triple bottom line. So typically businesses measure themselves with one bottom line, which is about profit. Profitability, shareholder value, that's a bottom line. If you think about a triple bottom line, you've got your profit, you have to measure that, you have to be a profitable company. But actually the second P of the triple bottom line is about people. And it's about the social impact that you have on the people who work for you, the communities that you operate in. So actually how socially responsible are you? And then actually the third P that companies and businesses need to be measuring themselves is actually the P of planet. And again, it's all very fashionable to talk about sort of sustainability, but actually fundamentally, you know, we have one planet to live on. You know, we don't have a finite set of resources to take from. We have to think about where we fit in the world. So actually, when you think about modern businesses and business thought leaders, measuring your business in terms of people, planet and profit strikes us as being the smart thing to do.
Out of the 3 Ps, which one are you supposed to focus on first, or should you be building them all together?
Well, I guess maybe I'd add another P, which is actually, I think you'd probably start with purpose. So again, the idea of having a purpose beyond profit. So when you start a company, and this is something I'll be talking about this afternoon, what exactly are you going to do? So sometimes the question I ask clients is, if your business ceased trading next Monday, what would the world be missing? Apart from the fact that there'd be some people unemployed looking for, what would the world be missing? And actually, if you can't answer the question, you don't really have a purpose. And in fact, I just came from a meeting this morning with a tech startup who have an app idea, which is great, but actually what we're trying to do is we're trying to help them ladder up to something that feels much bigger and much more meaningful, because otherwise it's just a product delivery company as opposed to a business. I think you should talk about your purpose and be proud of your purpose and articulate it and live by it.
What is your personal definition of a thought leader?
I think it's really hard when it comes to thought leadership, because I think very few people would give it as a title to themselves. It's not a title you can just put on your Twitter feed. It has to be given to you. I guess I always think that thought leaders are people who are out there asking the difficult questions, trying to put together an argument or a philosophy by taking different thoughts that are seemingly not connected, but connecting them in different ways. And I actually think it's not necessarily about new thoughts, but it's about the connection of existing thoughts and existing approaches in really different and new ways.
When I say the words thought leader, who specifically comes to mind?
I actually struggle a bit with the term thought leader. So I guess you could think about thought leader in terms of technology. So I'm thinking about somebody like Stephen Wolfram, who created Wolfram Alpha, who I think is an incredible thought leader in the world of computation analysis. So he would be a thought leader. You know, the cliched answer would be people like Jobs in terms of design, in terms of computing. But I think thought, you know, you can get thought leaders in any space. So Ferran Adrià, who's the chef at El Bulli, was a thought leader in terms of cuisine and cooking and taking technology and taking food and creating new things with it. That's thought leadership in my opinion.
Do you believe that individuals and companies should have tribes and grow them and nurture them in order to be successful?
I think it's an interesting question. It's a question that I've never really sort of thought about before. I don't think it's a really good. I don't know if you have to have a tribe behind you. I'm not sure really, because I guess real thought leaders aren't playing to a gallery. And actually I think that real thought leaders, I guess you could flip it a bit. So actually a lot of times if you think about politicians who should be thought leaders, but so often are just being governed by focus groups. Yeah. So actually sort of twist and turn according to what other people are saying, as opposed to saying, you know what, even if it's unpopular and even if you don't agree with me now, this is what I think and this is how I'm going to do it. So I don't know, I guess I'm not convinced that you need to have a tribe of followers behind you to be a thought leader. You can find me at my Twitter handle, which is just Amelia_Torode.